COVID-19 may have posed different countries varying degrees of challenges, but ultimately it has been a global challenge with lockdown in many countries of the world. Now, this situation led to air transport being grounded across the world, including Nigeria. Now, the federal government of Nigeria placed a ban on all international flights since 23rd March 2020 to curtail the further spread of the virus. After 5 months of restrictions now, and following a successful resumption of local flights, Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika announces at the PTF daily briefings that international flights will resume on 29th August 2020.
All protocols exist. They will continue alongside the opening of these airports. In the beginning, there will be 4 flights into Lagos and 4 flights into Abuja daily. We'll give further details on that in due course. And to say that this is a decision taken by the PTF.
This is, however, not without warning from the PTF chair that COVID-19 safety protocols will be strictly adhered to.
We have not attained the desired level that would enable us to make conclusive statements on the rate of infection in the country. We must therefore continue to do that which gives us a record improvements and desist from actions capable of undermining our successes.
So, if you had guessed that Nigeria today will be focusing on the resumption of international flights, then you guessed right. Welcome to the program. I'm Victor Azu. Now for further discussion on COVID-19 and resumption of international flights, joining us in the studio is Godi Ike, an aviation analyst.
Hi.
Thank you for hitting our call again.
Oh, thank you. And
All right, and I understand that not quite ready at the moment, but Captain Musa Nuhu will be joining us via Skype. He's Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. But let me begin with Godi Ike on this one. Are we safe? Are we good to go?
yes, definitely safe and good to go, especially thinking about the nature of the airplane, the nature of the air conditioning system in the airplane. Whether you do social or physical distancing or not within the cabin of the airplane. I've said this before and I'm going to repeat it, and maybe now that we have enough time I will explain to you, how it really works. Inside the cabin of the airplane there's something that is known as suction, which is movement of particles from, not just only particles, liquid or whatever, from high pressure area to low pressure area. That's suction. You find out that the cabin of an airplane is usually pressurized. The reason it's pressurized is that the atmospheric pressure on this earth where we live is designed by the Creator himself. God himself made it in such a way that the atmospheric pressure enables us to breathe. Okay. The fact that you're able to do is because of the atmospheric pressure that the Creator of the world, God himself, put here on earth. Now, if you go up into the skies to about anywhere from 20, 25, 30,000 feet above the sea level, the pressure thins out. Yes, it's not the same as you have here. Now, if you're taken to that height without pressurization, you can't breathe. Your lungs will just explode. And you die of what is known as hypoxia, which is lack of oxygen in the system. And so by that nature of the pressurization in the cabin, if you have any duct like they have in the air conditioning system that gets through to above the ceiling of the cabin. Now, above the ceiling of the cabin is a low pressure area.
Okay.
If you understand what I mean, if you get into the airplane cabin, you see that it's all paneled all the way down to where you're sitting. All right.
But does that guarantee safety at a time like this?
That's what I'm trying to explain. I'm going into all these details for you to understand how it really works. Now, with that situation, the air conditioning system is built in such a way that, you know, as you are supplied clean air that is filtered, you know, heated up, cooled again, and filtered and sent into the cabin, simultaneously, suction is taking place. That what it means now is that if you sneeze into the space, it doesn't spread around the cabin. It goes straight up, you know, and gets sucked away. You will notice when you
up, even if I sneeze at you.
No, it doesn't come to me. It goes away. That's what happens. It goes away because of the suction that, you know, that is taking place. A movement from high pressure area to a low.
But then,
low
does
pressure.
that also work for, you know, droplets?
The same. Let me tell you how awesome the
even when I can see or feel the droplets.
Okay, I'll give you an example of what happens, you know, if there's an accidental fall off of a door, you know, while you are in flight, or window, you know, breaking open. You know what happens if you don't have your seat belt strapping you down to your seat? If that hole is created, the pressure is so high that it lifts you off your seat. You see your full human being the way you are, floating in the air and being taken to the source of the hole. If that hole is big enough to take your body size, it sucks you out of the airplane. That's how awesome and huge the pressure is. The suction pressure that is within that, you know, cabin. So you can imagine you're talking about droplets and you're talking about invisible viruses, you know, coming off either your cough.
Okay, but then would you say that the safety protocols for international flights are okay as it is? Are they any different from those for domestic flights already issued for domestic flights?
The only difference that I can identify right now is the fact that before you do the flight, either you're going out of Nigeria or somebody's coming in, a few days to the flight time, you must carry out COVID-19 test to ensure that you are negative. All right, and when you arrive, as far as Nigeria is concerned, because we are discussing Nigeria right now, when you arrive, you're also quarantined to take another test 8 days after your arrival, because that is the protocol that they have in place right now. And so the imagination is that if after 8 days you do not develop symptoms and the virus cannot be detected, you know, in your body, then that means you're free of the virus, and then you let into the society to go and do your business. And
but we've been having people, those who are brought in, you know, via these evacuation flights from different countries, they have been asked to stay away for 14 days. So why, if 8 days could do the magic, why 14 days earlier?
Well, it's to make assurance doubly sure and ensure that even those that are asymptomatic, remember, that is a very silly thing about this virus we're dealing with. Some people can actually have them,
and it won't be detected.
It won't be detected. They don't even show any symptom. But if the test is carried out, it will be detected that that virus exists in that human being, but the person is not having any symptoms, not feeling ill, not even coughing, not sneezing, and just living a normal life. But in the actual sense, the virus is said to exist in that person. Those are the category of people that are described as asymptomatic. That's correct. So it's a tricky situation, quite tricky situation. But we can only do the best we can under the circumstance to ensure that we keep everyone safe.
But there is this widely held belief that COVID-19 was imported into the country. How safe, therefore, is it to resume international flights at this time? What factors gave the assurance that we could go on?
Yeah, it calls for diligence. The only aspect of it that really worries me is the attitude that we can have as a people, and the kind of attitude of not being able to keep routines. I've always described it, to anyone about us to listen to me, that maybe it's because of the upbringing that we have in this part of the world. If you employ a young Nigerian and tell him or her that, listen, your job is to ensure that this iPad stays in this position all the time. Anytime you notice, either by accident or by some movement, it changes position, your duty for which you are being paid and for which you are sitting somewhere, keeping an eye on this iPad, is to ensure that you promptly put it back to the position. That is routine. Now, the average young employee in this our environment watches this for first 1 week and nobody is touching it, no accident is taking place. The next second week, he leaves his duty post and tells his friend, oh boy, I don't stay tired, this thing not the move, make I could go chop bole. And
then it moves afterwards.
Shortly after that, that thing for which he or she is employed takes place, and the disaster that comes with it, the next thing is, it was a mistake, I didn't know it would happen, and so God one time. If no God, no one time, if it no happen. Those kind of explaining away irresponsibility. Yeah, that's what really bothers me about my society, and that is what I keep preaching to this society. If we can stick to diligence, stick to routine, if this is your job, for the hour you are putting in that job, get it done diligently, so that when you receive your salary, you enjoy it.
Justified.
You enjoy it, not just only justification, but you enjoy it and say, oh, come on, I worked so hard for this and I'm happy.
But still, just for, to put it beyond every reasonable doubt, many have been asking, for the logic behind suspending international flights in the first place, if these protocols, as you say, would suffice.
It's worrisome when you really think about the attitude we can have as a people. If we were to have people retrained and cancel that, listen, we've got serious job on our hands. We've got serious job to do for this nation. We've got this nation to keep healthy and alive. If we have all this and get people change the way they think and the way they behave, you will notice that with that diligence we can ensure that no one is God, by the way. We can't be as perfect as God. We just can't be, but we can be perfect enough to slow down this infection that we are worried about.
Right.
So if we keep the protocol that's been put in place right now, obey them, and have people diligently doing what they have to do, to add value to what we are talking about, I can bet you it's fairly safe. Now the worrisome part is, are we going to have corruption creep into the system where somebody says, I have carried out a test, and in reality that test has not been carried out, and the certificate that is in the person's possession is a fake certificate. Somebody has paid money somewhere to be issued a certificate. So that's the area that worries me.
We'll get to all of that.
Yes.
But I do understand now that Captain Nuhu has joined us. He's the DG of the NCAA. We will get right to him, but that will be after this break. Please don't go away.
Some other countries have already resumed, and we cannot be left behind. And it's killing our economy by not allow in and out of flights. So that is very, very important for us to at least to do it the way others are doing it.
We are looking at our country now. Everything we use in this country come from abroad. And when there is no international business trip and movement, a lot of things go wrong in our country. Look at the cost of things in the country now.
It's not a bad idea economy-wise. It's good because Nigeria have lost a lot of money on this COVID-19. And secondly, if the federal government are assuring the citizens that there will be sanitization in the airport and the airplane and every other thing.
There are negative aspect and a positive aspect of it. But when one is well guided on how to go out and fly out, I think it can be controlled.
It will encourage investors to begin to come in gradually, and it will expose a lot of transaction that has gone down
to our nation, because I think that will boost our nation economic. Okay. Then on the other side of the COVID-19, I think the preventive measures just have to, put in place.
Right, interesting perspectives there. Captain Musa Nuhu, Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
God Ike, while we were trying to get through to you, has been holding on and holding the fort fantastically. But I want to put this to you straight up. If international travelers test negative before boarding, why is a second test necessary 1 week after arriving in the country?
Okay, thank you very much. That is more of a question for the health authorities, but I think because we've been in consultation with them, I can dare answer this question. The COVID-19, if you do a test, from the past experience we had during the evacuation flights, about 5% of those who did the test and came out negative, when they arrived in Nigeria, they came out positive within a few days. So the whole idea of having a second test is you do a test between 48 and 72 hours of arrival in Nigeria. And when you come after a week later, the incubation period, if you, for any reason, during the flight or at the airport, you contacted COVID, within 7-8 days, the symptoms will have started coming out, and that's why you do the COVID test. Don't forget, a COVID test is not a vaccine. COVID test just tells you, as of the time your sample was taken, you are negative. I can do a COVID test, within the next hour, I touch something, I become positive, but by the time my result comes out in a couple of days, it shows I'm negative. So COVID test is not a protection. It just gives people confidence at the time you didn't have COVID. So a lot of people catch COVID through the airport process and through on the flight or whatever, So the second test is just to find out those who might have caught the virus while going through the transportation system.
Now, from the Vox Pop we took just a moment ago, clearly the people are yearning for things to go back to normal, but with some countries like the US and Brazil still having high infection rates, shouldn't travelers or citizens from such countries be restricted?
Well, yes, we are still working out the modalities for that. And one of the protections is the COVID test, the first and second COVID test. And if you did hear the Minister of Aviation when he mentioned, we're going to have initially 4 flights per day at both Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, and Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport in Abuja. So there's a kind of restriction of movement, at least at the very start of the list. And don't forget, different countries have different requirements. So it's not as easy. It's a very, very complicated process. For people traveling out of Nigeria, we have to look at, depending on where the passenger is going, they have to look at the requirements of those countries meet the requirements. And those coming to Nigeria also will have to look at the requirements of Nigeria, meet the requirements before even being allowed to board the flight from their departure point.
All right, but staying with you now, are the travelers at liberty to travel to any location within the country before taking another test on the 8th day? This is just so for the avoidance of any doubt.
Could you repeat that?
I'm asking if the travelers are at liberty to travel to any location of their choice within the country before taking another test on the 8th day of their arrival.
To be honest, I'll leave that to the health authorities. It's a bit out of my area of specialty, so I don't want to give wrong information. We have the health authorities, the National Center for Disease and Control, and the Federal Ministry of Health. They deal with these issues. They will be in a better position to give you the specifics. We collaborate with them. They give us information, and we include it in our guidelines that we pass it out to the other airlines, foreign countries, and the airlines. This is what you need to do before you come to Nigeria. So those specific questions are really not my area of expertise, so I will be careful as not to provide the public with wrong information.
All right, let me return now to the studio where Godike has been listening to Captain Nuhu. Now, in 30 minutes, 30 seconds, I beg your pardon, would you think that the resumption of international flight operations be restricted to some airlines for now, or should it be free for all straight away?
No, it shouldn't be free for all. I don't recommend that at all. We need to be sure that the nations that we are communicating with are carrying out, protocols consistent with what we have set for ourselves here. Okay. They have to really respect. For those that are not meeting the requirements, we should keep away from and see them as very risky.
All right, let me quickly travel across to Captain Nuhu on this one as you try to make your closing remarks, Captain Nuhu. Will there be penalties for defaulters as regards compliance with self-isolation quarantine requirements issued to them upon entry into the country?
That's a difficult one, and also, unfortunately, that's not an eviction function. It's a function of the health ministry. So I cannot definitely say whether they will be quarantined for, there'll be penalties for those who violate the quarantine. All I can say, government cannot put everybody in quarantine. It's a very, very expensive project for government to put each and every traveler in enforced quarantine. So we can only plead with people to do the needy and go into self-quarantine for the protection of the society. A lot of countries do that.
And now, taking the next 10 seconds, will you tell us what you would like to give us a message to Nigerians as flights, international flights that is, as they resume on the 29th of August?
Okay, what I can say, we'll do our very best like we do with the domestic flights. We did all the hard work to ensure everybody's the safety of the travel public is protected. We equally going to do also for the international flights, although the international flights a bit much more complex than that of the domestic flight now, because you have different agencies, you have customs, immigration, security, police, and the airlines and foreign countries involved. So it's a much more difficult and a much more complex, but I can assure the traveling public will ensure that we do our best to protect them, both for the technical safety and the health safety.
All right, it's been quite an interesting conversation, hasn't it? Even though we couldn't get across to Captain Nuhu early, but we have to go now. Thank you very much indeed, Captain Musa Nuhu, Director General, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure being here, and I do appreciate it.
All right, I'm back here in the studio. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for finding time to join us again on this occasion.
My pleasure. Anytime, my pleasure.
All right. And that's the program. Nigeria Today is live every weekday at 7:30 in the evening. And now you can watch this edition and others on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Victor Azu. Many thanks for your time.